we want to give you everything, but we also want to be protected in doing so. Is more of the was more of the thing. It's just.
And when he's done, we'll give you a copy.
Is there a password or anything? Like, will it lock up after a period of time?
That's his notes. And.
Back, everybody. I hope you're all well. Today we're going to have a look at Nicole Kessinger Part 2, the interview with the cops. I think they could have done a much better job in interviewing her, but there we go. In today's interview, she thought they were getting separated or wasn't sure. Then she goes from they were getting separated to they were in a divorce, then they were getting a slow divorce. It's all mumbo jumbo for her, so I don't think she knows what day it is, really. Straight away, her dad wants police protection. Why would you need police protection if you haven't done anything wrong? She's been looking at accommodation for Chris. I mean, why would you look for accommodation if you weren't that involved with him? I mean, she didn't even need to look for accommodation for Chris. He was planning on his own accommodation. The man's playing 4D chess. He hasn't got to look for accommodation ever again. He knew what he was doing. No bills, nothing. Thing is, if they were getting a slow divorce, or she thought they were getting any sort of divorce, Shanann used to film everything, and he was always in the videos. So if they were splitting up, why would he still be in the Facebook videos all the time? She knew she was a sales rep. She knew the sleeping arrangements. She knew the kids' names. She knew his paycheck came in and went out and he didn't see it. She knew he had a house that he couldn't afford and was living way above his means, according to him. She knows an awful lot. She knows how much he earns. I mean, she'd know that anyway because she worked with him, I suppose. Their combined wealth, or that's what she thinks their combined wealth is. Some of these, obviously, are remarks that Chris has made to her, I think. To be fair, I mean, that house is a big house and it's a nice house. It would be nice to have a big, nice house like that. But I mean, even if I had £1 million in the bank, I'd still be checking every month at the mortgage, and it'd be what he did. It bankrupted me. Well, I suppose it did bankrupt him, but I'd be too stressed to check the mortgage payments every month if I had a big house like that. How the other half live, eh? I haven't had a chance to look at the actual financials of it all yet, but I'm sure I will at some point. Asking about what custody I have with the kids. She was inquiring about schools and the distance to work from the house that she was looking at, or the apartments that she was looking at. She was well in there. Even at one point, they're telling each other that they loved each other. I mean, come on, it's been 8 weeks. We're not 15 here. She knew he was down in the basement, sleeping down in the basement. She went from just going in the front room to then the whole house to then the basement. I think she obviously wanted to look in the basement to prove that he was sleeping in there, but she contradicts herself within the same sentence in this video. Daddy Kessinger wants her protected from the big bad feds. Why would this woman need protection from the feds? She found out Shanann was pregnant from the newspapers, but she didn't think that anyone was in danger until he'd lied to her. A bit of a weird way to go about it. No emotion whatsoever. I mean, say for instance, I knock someone over in my car and touch wood, God forbid, and they lost their life. I would find that extremely difficult. I would really struggle to cope with that. Yet she sits there in a murder investigation with her partner. I know she hasn't done it, but her partner has done it. Nothing like his water off the duck's back. I'd be traumatized. And if you put yourself in her shoes for a minute, you've been dating someone and then they allegedly annihilated their family. What's the first thing you do? Oh no, I'll delete all my texts. She says to him, there's so many photos on there, you wouldn't know which ones are for Chris and which ones weren't. Well, I think we would know which ones were for Chris. I'm sure we could figure it out. She says, I didn't automatically think that he would murder his family. Well, 5 minutes ago, when he lied to you, you thought you were in danger or she was in danger. That doesn't make sense. Hang on a minute. Maybe she's not coming home. How would you jump to that conclusion of him not coming home? Depending on what minute you ask her, you'll get a different answer from her.
None of this other stuff would have happened. That's what it would have been. That would have been the end of it.
The information was not destroyed because there was anything in there that would be harmful to you or potentially to Chris at this point, but harmful to you in particular. That's not why you did it.
No.
You did it out of, excuse my language, this guy's an asshole, so I'm getting rid of him, and I'm getting this stuff off my phone.
That was like me kicking him out of my life.
Okay.
And then, like I said, and then realizing that he lied, that was when I was like, okay, maybe his family is in danger and they're not coming back and they're not staying with a friend.
Yeah, when did I go over there? Tuesday morning?
Wednesday morning.
Wednesday.
I called you Wednesday morning.
That's when we started discussing you guys need to get everything that could just...
You can understand the importance of...
Oh, no question. We were...
Like I said, people lie, phone records don't, and they really help specifically establish dates and times.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have a very good grip on that in this case already, but there may be a time when we go, we need to know something else, and then we would have it. We don't want to lose it, and that's really what it is for us, is if we lose information that later on we go, man, I wish we would have got that. And we may never even use these. We may never even look at them. But if we have it now, then we don't worry about losing it. So I appreciate you being cooperative and giving it to us.
Yeah.
So the first thing I wrote was text messages between Chris Watts and attachments. Okay? So, because we're talking about the photographs, unfortunately, that cause you much disdain. And then I am going to put phone log for calls between yourself and Chris Watts. Your phone number is 720
656 9605.
And this right now is located at, we're at the Thornton Police Department. It's going to be moved to my, so this is kind of, doesn't make sense, but we're here. It's going to be moved to the Colorado Bureau of Investigation. He's going to download it here, but I'm going to take it with me, just so you know. It's not staying here.
Okay.
They're not going to retain any of this. This comes with me.
Okay.
Okay?
Is there anything else you want on there? I think that's about...
That's it. I mean, I don't have social media. I don't really have anything else you guys can pull.
Okay.
Is there anything else you know of that could help us with this that is not on this sheet?
As far as like data?
That's on your phone?
No. I mean, everything we did was like text and talk, pretty much. I mean, and like I said, any pictures that I had, like even if you were to restore all my regular photos, there's so many pictures in there and you wouldn't even know which ones were for him and which ones weren't. But any picture that I wanted to send to him, I sent via text. So if you guys go through the text and the attachments, you will have everything that wasn't said verbally and was done via text. But I think that's it. Like I don't have anything else. As far as like no Facebook, no Instagram, no Twitter, no LinkedIn, like none of it. So there was never any of that kind of correspondence. So I think that should probably cover everything you guys will need.
Is there any particular messages that would help me so I don't have to look at, because whatever's on your phone, I don't know how long we're going to get back to, but let's say is there a particular date or time or message that stands out to you that would be relative to, specifically to the investigation into this case, that might assist me in understanding why something like this could have occurred?
I'm still in shock that this whole thing happened. Like that's why I gave him the benefit of the doubt for the first day, because I was just like, no way. Like I didn't even think about that. I mean, murder was not on the top of my mind when somebody doesn't come home for an evening, especially if they've just like had some sort of like heated conversation. It's like, okay, you guys are separating, you have a heated conversation, you leave for a night. Like I didn't even think this guy killed his wife. I mean, that like murder is on something on the top of my mind when I call one of my friends for 3 or 4 hours and she doesn't answer the phone. Like that doesn't even process to me as like a real thing that is a possibility at that point. And so that's why I gave it a day, and then the second day I was talking to him, he was just like a hot mess, I could tell. And then with like the way he was talking to me, and then that's kind of when I cut him off and I stopped talking to him. And then... So
remember what you just said, and we're going to get to that, because that's probably a very important conversation.
So if you want to know days, I would probably honestly just start at like Sunday and work your way forward. I mean, all the rest of that stuff, it's just like the small talk of like, hey, this, you know? I mean... And your relationship building through the... Yeah, I mean, like, and if you go like maybe like a week further back, like there's times like I was trying to help him find an apartment, like just for him, not for me, but for him and his kids. To get set up, and like there's times where I'm like, well, where's your wife moving to? Like, how close is she going to be to you? You should be within like 30 minutes of your kids so they're close, and like you want to be close to their school and close to your gym, and like what's your price range. Like I was helping him get all of this stuff set up, and it was like in a very decent manner. And I don't know if all of that is in text. Some of it's probably on the phone. Like at this point I've talked to him so much that I don't even know which parts are like verbalized and which parts are texted at this point, but we can figure it out.
Okay. You see what I wrote? Text messages between Chris Watts and attachments, and then the phone logs for calls between your phone number and Chris Watts. Those are the two things that we'll ask to be extracted from your phone. So if you're okay with that.
Why does it say as removed cell phone data? Isn't that this?
That is that, and that's what he's going to remove, and then that officer is going to fill that out.
Gotcha. What is the date? I don't even know what
today is. The 16th.
You want to add anything to this?
If you give us your phone, we'll get him started.
Yeah, we want to give you everything, but we also want to be protected in doing so. Is more of the was more of the thing. It's just.
And when he's done, we'll give you a copy.
Is there a password or anything? Like, will it lock up after a period of time?
Yeah.
Right here.
That's his notes.
And.
Make sure there's nothing written on the back.
There's not. I checked before I wrote it off.
Let's go back to North Carolina.
Okay.
He went to North Carolina, and he was trying to rehab his marriage with his wife.
He said.
Do you know her name at this point?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you okay saying her name?
It's Shanann.
All right. And do you know the children's name?
Yes, it's Bella and Celeste.
Okay. She went by, they called her Cece?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So he went to, were they in North Carolina
they were already there.
If you want something.
I don't know if my stomach will do that. Yeah, they were already out there. He just flew out there to meet up.
Do you know why they were there?
They're all from there.
Okay, so they were there
They were visiting her family for the most part until he got there. And then they still were mostly visiting her family.
Okay. And do you know how long they had been there?
A while. Like weeks.
All right. And he flew out to join his family there?
Yep.
Do you know specifically where he flew to?
What, airport?
No. What city?
No, not off the top of my head.
Okay.
I'm sure if I thought real hard, maybe I could think about it, but, I mean, come up with it, no, I don't know.
All right. So he goes there, you said it was like the last week of July?
I think so. I think it was like one of the last days of July. I'm almost positive. I think it was a weekday.
Okay.
Yeah, he flew out there, and I thought I had, like, convinced him to, like, try to make peace with her. And I was like, if you guys work on this, like, I'm out. Because what's the point? Like, I'm not trying to be with somebody that's in another relationship, which I know that sounds silly given the whole relationship that we had in the first place, but I really was under the impression that they were separating. I mean, it was, like, reiterated to me so many times that that's what I thought it was. And it made sense to me, too, because, like, he could pretty much call me whenever he wanted. Like, I was the one that would tell him, like, hey, when your kids are awake, you need to spend time with your kids. Like, do that. And then after they go to bed, like, if you want to talk to me, you can talk to me. But it was never, like, this super, super restricted thing. Like, sometimes, like, right after work, if I was, like, still talking to him, I'd get kind of bummed out. And I tell him, just like, oh, it's frustrating sometimes, like, having to, like, wait. But at the same time, I was never like, this is horrible, or, it was always like, I understood why. But then once his kids were asleep, he never, like, had any, it was like he could do what he wanted. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
Sure.
He was in his basement, and she's upstairs, and they're not speaking. So it kind of made sense. It wasn't like...
And you guys are just texting and...
Or talking or whatever, I mean, and it was like I said, it was at certain times, but that time, and originally it wasn't, but it was me that put that time frame on there because I thought he should hang out with his kids.
Did you see any evidence of that, him living in the basement? Did he ever show you that area or anything?
I've seen it, yeah, I went down there and saw his little workout equipment, and there's a bed down there all set up, and the basement was all clean and organized and stuff, so like a decent bed set up, so it made sense to me, like, hey, this is what's happening down here. So I saw it.
Even though his family was in North Carolina for multiple weeks, it appeared that he was still living in the basement.
Mm-hmm. Well, and he told me sometimes he would like go upstairs and sleep if like he was home alone, because I know she'd like go on business trips and stuff. But he's like, I don't like that bed anyway, so he didn't really like to sleep up there. I was like, okay. Even when it was just him. So that was the impression that I got. I don't know what you're talking about. North Carolina.
Go back to North Carolina.
So, North Carolina. So, he still made very frequent communication with me when he was out there. And at one point, he told me that they sat down and they talked about it, and he told her that he wanted to either fix things or like to try to fix things, and if she didn't want to fix them, then they needed to like move forward with the separation and like actually file for a divorce at this point was the impression that I got from this, and was what he told me. And so he said that she was like pretty receptive to just not trying. He was like, she seemed like she just wants me to go. He's like, when she has her mind made up, she has her mind made up, and that's what she wants. And he's like, she doesn't want to try anymore. And he's like, and neither do I really. And he was like, it's done. And he's like, and then the next day, I don't even know what days these were. Sometime when he was out there, he told me, we're putting the house up for sale as soon as we get back. And I was like, well, that was quick. And he was like, it's her. She's ready to go. And I was like, okay. And so I left it at that. And then he got back, and I started asking him, like, what are you going to do? Because the Colorado housing market is fire, and you guys are going to sell this house, like, real fast. And I'm like, you need to start looking for a new place to live. And I'm like, where do you want to live? And I was really trying to help him out. I'm like, do you want to get a house? Do you want 3 bedrooms so you have one and each of your girls have one? I'm like, do you want to, you know, like do an apartment? Like, what do you want? You know, where do you want to live? Because he's in Frederick, but that whole area over there is just like a bunch of small towns, and you can kind of just pick and choose. Everything's kind of, you know, and so he told me, well, I like Brighton, and I was like, okay. And then he told me he wanted a 2-bedroom apartment, and he said he wanted 1 room for him and the other room for his 2 girls. And I thought it was kind of cute. Like, I remember telling him, I was like, yeah, me and my sister had bunk beds, like, at my dad's house. And I was like, when we were little girls, and me and my sister were the same age apart as him and as his 2 daughters, you know. So I told him, I was like, they're going to love it. I was like, they might be, like, stuck in one room together. I was like, but they'll become, like, best buddies. And it was really exciting. Like, I liked helping him, and I just wanted him to, like, I don't know. This is what he told me he wanted. So I was like, well, I will help you do the research. But another thing that I really took care of was to be like, where is she moving to? I was never like, you know what, screw your wife, try to get full custody. None of that bullshit. It was always just like, you know, I'd ask him, I'm like, well, what kind of custody are you guys going to have? Because he at work, they're about to switch his schedule. So right now he's like on Monday through Friday, and they're about to switch these guys to 8 days on, 6 days off.
That's tough.
That's awesome. And I was asking him, I was like, are you going to have your kids like on that set of days off? I was like, because that would work perfect, like 1 week on, 1 week off. And I was just like, you know, we just talk about it. And I'm like, what is your plan? And he's like, we haven't figured out exactly what we're going to do about the kids yet. But he told me, he's like, Colorado's a 50-50 state, and she's okay with everything 50-50. Like, he said that she was, like, on board with this because she wanted it too. Like, she was checked out of this relationship. So that was, like, how he made this sound. That it was, like, a very, like, kosher, we're done kind of thing.
Did you ever give him, like, books or articles or anything to read about saving your marriage? Did you ever provide anything to him like that? About
saving his marriage?
Yeah, like how to recover a marriage or how to save your marriage. Or, you know, there's all sorts of publications and books out there.
No, but I did tell him, and I don't know if I did this through text or phone. That will be something you guys will, I'm sure, figure out. But I told him a few times, like, I think that you should take the time to read some articles about what separation does to kids. You know, and I told him, I said, when my parents separated, we were literally like 3 and 5. We were almost the exact same age as these little girls. And I told him, I said, you know, I was so young when it happened that it didn't really have like a big negative effect on me because it was so small that I didn't really process it too well. I was like, but I do have cousins that their parents got divorced when they were like 10, 11, and I think that it hit them a little harder, you know, and he's like, oh, they'll be fine, you know, and I told him, I was like, even though they're small and you think that they'll be fine, I was like, I think you guys should just read about it just so that you guys are prepared in case, you know, one of these two starts having a hard time with the fact that you guys aren't in the same house anymore. You know, and I would tell him, I was like, you know, there's pros and cons to it, like, because he was, like, getting ready to do it, and it would be like, you know, it's kind of cool having 2 Christmases, and, you know, like, your parents get to go, you know, be happy doing whatever it is they want to do with their lives, and they don't have to be in a situation that's probably not good for the kids because it's not good for those two, you know, but at the same time, it was like, just read. Like, that's what I always used to tell him. I'd always tell him to, like, I tell people to read about everything. Reading is so good for you.
So he, at this time, is telling you that, yeah, I am the guy trying to save the marriage and she doesn't want it.
That's what he told me. So, and and then he was like, she doesn't want it, so I'm not going to do it. And then it was like, we're filing for divorce, we're selling the house, and this was like all as soon as they were coming back from North Carolina, like boom, 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 boom.
Would
And
you recall when he gets back from North Carolina?
no, I don't even know how long he was out there. I know it was like less than 2 weeks and more than 1.
Okay.
I don't remember.
So he comes back early August. Would that be fair?
Oh yeah, it was definitely like in the first 2 weeks somewhere.
All right.
Probably the second week of August at some point in that. I don't remember when.
Does his wife come back with him at that time? Or
Yeah,
does
they
he...
all came back.
They all come back at the same time?
They all came back. And then, yeah, so he continues to just, you know, tell me that this is like what he wants. And so I took the time, and you will see that in the text too, where I I found this apartment. It was perfect. It was so cute. I was like, it's in your price range. It's like 6 miles from the gym. It's 23 miles from work. I'm like, you know, it's super close to Frederick. It's going to be by your kid's school. Like, this is the spot, you know, and I told him, I was like, I'll keep looking for more places, and he's like, well, there's some that I want to go see too, and he actually had me thinking that he was going to go look at these places this week before all this.
Okay, so this is fairly recent then, if we're
this
talking
just
about.
happened, like in the last.
He's going to go
weeks.
look at apartments.
He wanted me to go with him.
When you say this week, are you saying
Like this
Monday
this
was the 13th?
Like this week.
Okay.
Yeah, so I told him, I was like, well, pick out a few spots, and if you want me to come with you, I'll go look at them, but you know.
You said earlier that he had never, or that the apartment wasn't for you and him. It was just for him and his children?
Oh, yes.
It was. You had no intentions of moving in with him?
No. I have my own spot. I still have a lease there till July, and even then, like, he never asked me to move in with him.
Okay.
And I never tried to move in with him. I mean, I told him, I really try to take everything with this whole situation very slow. The only part that I screwed up on was the fact that he wasn't completely separated from her when him and I decided to spend time with each other. That is where I screwed up. But other than that, everything else, it was always like, you know, you build your life, I'm going to build my life, we will intertwine them, but I am not ready to, like, do this. And he respected that. And I even said that, and I don't know, that might be in the text, but said that too, where it's like, Chris, like, you need space. Like, you're just getting out of a divorce. Like, personally, I think jumping into a new relationship is a little quick. It's like, I was in a relationship earlier this year, and I think this is also a little quick. And I'm like, so why don't we take our time? And I'm like, if you guys end up doing a week on, a week off with your kids, I'm like, the week you have your kids, be with your children. And the week that you don't, I'm like, I don't even want to see you every day. I'm like, I think we should spend like a few days of that together. I'm like, because I like my space, and I think you need your space. I think you need your space to like develop your identity again and like get it back, because I think he's just been like so wrapped up in this whole thing that he's got in his own life and his life that he doesn't remember probably what it's like to like be single or have time where it's like just him.
Sure.
And so I was just like, you know, like, embrace that. I think it's a beautiful thing, and I really try to like take it smart with all that. And it was the same thing with his kids. I was just like, you know, like, And we talk about things every once in a while where I'd be like, hey, if I ever meet, because like I have a lot of house plants. It's a good example. So I have a lot of house plants, and I told him, I was like, one day if I ever meet your kids, I was like, I'm going to show these girls how to like paint pottery and plant plants. I was like, I think they would love to see something grow that they built. I think it would be really, really cute. And like little stuff like that, but it wasn't very frequent. It wasn't, hey, we should get married, and hey, we should have babies, and hey, I want to live with you, and hey, I need to meet your children now, and let's cut the mom out. It was never like that.
And there was never any conversation about, we can't do this with her around, we can't do this with the kids around. No. He never said that, you never said that.
No.
So the way you guys were trying to make this work was just, slowly trying to come together because of his current situation, and you, by your own account,
mine. I mean,
you're just a independent person. It sounds like pretty much, yeah. And but through text message or through conversation, he never said, "Hey, this isn't going to be financially able. I'm not going to be financially able to do this," or "This isn't a good thing. I got these kids." None of those conversations ever came up.
No. I mean, he told me like he had a budget restriction. So for his apartment, and I'm pretty sure this is in the text, and this will probably be in the last couple of weeks, he told me $1,100 to $1,400 when I was asking him. Like, because I told him I'd help him do homework. I was like, you do some homework, I'll do some homework, we'll knock this out, because if you guys are for real putting the house up, you got to figure it out. And so that was his budget. And I remember asking him, I was like, you sure you don't want to just get like a house? And he's like, I never thought about a house. I'm like, yeah, you can rent houses, man. Like, it's a thing. And he's just like, I don't know if I can afford that. And I was like, okay. And I knew that those two had been through some financial trouble. I definitely found out a lot more about that situation in the newspaper recently.
Okay, so prior to the newspaper, how did you know he was in financial difficulty?
Because when I went to that house, everything in there is very, 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 very nice. It looks like it all comes with a very expensive price tag. And I didn't say anything to him about it, but I could kind of tell then where I was like just looking at everything like, how do you guys afford this? And then he has that car. I don't even know how much that car costs. But
what car is that?
That Lexus. I'm sure that thing costs like $80,000, but just like money. Like everything just looked like it costs a lot of money in that house.
You probably have a decent idea of how much money he makes.
Yeah, and it's not enough money to pay for all that. Not even close.
Did you have any idea what Shanann did for a living or how much money she might have made?
I mean, I had an idea. I would consider her like a sales rep. I don't know how else to describe that. And I don't know exactly how much she made. He said that she was really competitive and she liked to try to keep up with him. He's like, she gets close sometimes. So I don't know how much those two brought in. I mean, off the top of my head, if I could guess, probably somewhere around like $140K a year. I mean, I don't know. Because I don't know exactly how much he makes, and I don't know exactly how much she makes. But based just off of like what I know about the oil field, like, yeah, I would say that's probably an accurate estimate.
So even if they're making, let's just use the figure $100,000, they're living above their means or below their means?
Oh my God, like
way too much.
Way.
Did he ever discuss with you any of those issues?
I mean, a little. I mean, I didn't know about the bankruptcy or any of that until I read on the newspaper about that. But I think he was really frustrated with the situation. He told me, he's like, I feel like my paycheck goes in my bank account and I just watch it go like this. He's like, but it doesn't have to. He's like, she makes it like that. And I was just
was he resentful for that?
I don't know if he was resentful. I just think he was frustrated by the fact that they could be doing a lot better financially, and she, from the vibe that I got, had really bad spending habits.
So she was a spender. The car hers or his?
I think it's hers.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that that's hers.
Do you know what other car they might have?
Well, I mean, his APC pickup truck.
And that's
it, I think.
That's owned by Anadarko, though, right?
Yeah. But so I don't think they own any other vehicles, as far as I know. I think it's just that thing.
And Anadarko doesn't allow him to drive that on his own personal time, right?
No.
So he's just got one vehicle.
Yep.
And it's a very expensive Lexus. And then they live in a pretty expensive house.
It's a huge house.
Yeah.
I was very taken back when I saw it. I was just like, whoa. How
And then
do you
the
guys...
fixtures inside caused you to pause.
Everything was just like...
And then you mentioned today you read something about bankruptcy.
Yep.
What did you read?
That those guys filed bankruptcy for a lot of money.
Who are those guys?
That couple.
Okay.
In 2015. Oh, Shanann and Chris.
Thanks.
Filed bankruptcy in 2015.
Okay. And you said for a lot of money. Do you recall the amount?
No, because it was different in each of the newspapers, and I don't know which one to believe.
Okay.
So, hundreds of thousands of dollars. So, yeah, I didn't know that.
Let's go just back to him and the financial. He tells you he has a concern enough to at least express something to you that he's frustrated with the way she spends, or he's upset with working so hard and never having any money, and she's kind of the responsibility. She's the responsible party for spending most of the money.
I pretty much got that vibe. I mean, he just told me, he's like, we're house broke all the time. I was just like, that's unfortunate. And I asked him, I was like, do you have 401k? And he was like, yeah. And I mean, the reason I ask him this is because if I get into a relationship with somebody, I want to know, like, what kind of baggage that they have. I think that's important if I walk into a situation where I'm like, hey, I have good credit and I have all these things that I've been building, and you don't have your stuff together, like, what are we going to do with this? And it's important for your long-term
You're smart.
thing. So I'm preparing. And so I just asked him, I was like, well, do you have 401k? And he was like, yeah, I do have that. And then I asked him, I was like, I didn't ask him, like, how much debt they had or anything, but I just said, is your lifestyle sustainable? And he was like, no.
Okay.
And I was like, how long do you think that's going to take? He's like, I don't know, but it's not sustainable.
Where did his girls go to school?
I don't know. He never actually told me. Like, when I asked him once, it was like when I was trying to find him an apartment, I was like, are you comfortable telling me where your girls go to school? That's in the text too. I was like, so I can figure out what distance from the apartment it is. I was trying to just make his life convenient with, like, him, his ex, his kids, and all the stuff that he needs to do and work. And he was like, don't worry about it. Their school's pretty centrally located, so anywhere in the area that we were discussing will be fine. And he just left it at that. So he didn't even tell me, which was fine. I respect that.
Daycare is obviously very expensive for a 3 and 5 year old.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So
I understand.
did he ever bring did he ever discuss that?
Never.
Okay.
Never. Like I said, the only financial thing he ever said is just like, she just likes to spend money, like a lot of it. So that was just kind of the vibe that I got from that, and that it was a lifestyle that she liked to live, like, very, like, materialistic kind of lifestyle.
Wanted to
Like,
project a certain image.
Yes, all the time. And he said that was why they got that house too. It's like she wants everybody to think that we live a certain way and that we can, like, sustain all this stuff. And he's like, and we can't. And I told him, I said, when you're in those situations, why don't you, I'm like, do you like voice your concern about this? And he told me, he's like, when I try to talk to her, he's like, she's really bossy and she usually shuts me out. And he's like, when she does that, he's like, I just let it go. And I was just like, all right. I mean, I don't try to, like, interfere with how those two interact. But I did ask about it because I'm just curious, because I would never put myself in a situation where someone was like, you know what, we're going to live in this house that costs, like, double what we can afford, and that's how it's going to be, because I want everybody to think we're fancy. Because I wouldn't do that. I mean, to me, like, I wouldn't put up with somebody doing that to me. And I'm not saying that that's what she was doing. I mean, for all I know, he could have been completely lying about this. He could be the one spending all the money.
Sure.
You know?
This is just what he told you.
Exactly. So, I mean, that's as far as I can interpret it. So I can't be like, well, oh, she needs to do this and she needs to do that. But, he voiced his concern where it's just like, financially, I'm in a very bad spot that I don't need to be in, but I'm stuck in. And that was kind of where he was at. So, but I mean, he was never, like, mean when he talked about her. He was never hostile, like, nothing like that. He just, I mean, very calmly, like, this is the situation. And I think the only reason that he even provided me with that information is because I asked.
That's today's video. I hope you enjoyed that one. I'm going to go and do part 3. That'll probably be out tomorrow. Quick mentions for you. Carl Ward, Kes, Helen, Sam, Julia, Susie, Sib, Mary, Dave Mies, J-Lo from Australia, Tracy 7200 and Heidi, Kathleen Edwards, Desi, Candy, Katie, Lois, Rajo, Alison, Corspan, Charlie Girlies, Spooky Girl, Monica Verifier, I think that says. Fuck knows what that says. Dawn Noble, Jack Smith, T-Rex, Candy, Phoenix, Carol Ward, the other Carol, Cat White, Lucky Delgado, Kelly Fines, Gail Elliott, Susie, Paul Brown, Angela, Moira, Helen, Moira, big shout out Moira, Jacqueline, Jay Farside, South Philly Lily, Gail Elliott, Cat White, Susie Berg. Quick message, Kate, it's great to hope your husband is on the mend. I hope he's getting well. That's it. Cheers, guys, and remember, don't have nightmares. And to all the members, I'll put you up now.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you all for your support once again. You're all legends. I appreciate every one of you. T-Rex bit. So she was well in there with her grotty little fingers. So she was well in there. Welcome back, everybody. I hope you're all well. Today we're going to have a look at Nicole. Welcome back, everybody. Today she knew he was down in the basement, sleeping down in the basement. She went from just, but she even mentions their combined wealth, or that's what she thinks their combined wealth is. I've lost my script again. Not that it's like Shakespeare or anything. Oh my god. Have I filmed that? Did I do that bit? Okay, I don't know. Okay, so that's... She says to the policeman, no,